Welcome back to Vikes with a Mic. Tyler, it's Tuesday, April 27th. We are 2 days away from the NFL draft in Cleveland, Ohio. We are 2 days and 4-ish hours away from hearing the commissioner tell us that the draft is officially underway. So this will be our last official episode before the draft on Thursday. And leading up to the draft and during the draft, we will be taking notes of what happens for the Minnesota Vikings. We'll be coming back with reactionary content as to what the Vikings do and all of that. So we will definitely make sure to keep you listeners updated with how that is exactly going to look. But today is going to be a lot of fun. We're super stoked. We're going to be focusing mainly on a handful of guys, basically, that we want the Vikings to see make an attempt to draft this year in 2021 here. Now, these can be super realistic picks. These can be picks that you get all in one draft, or it could be, as far up as Trevor Lawrence per se, or something like that. Not that that's gonna happen, right? But like theoretically, if you have a good enough reason and a good enough thought process behind what you're doing, then it could totally make a case for even the top player in the draft. So super excited. I think best thing to do here is we'll just go back and forth with one guy each. I believe we both have 5 guys, so let's just get right into it, man. Who is the 5th most person that you want to see? How about let's go in order of that?
Okay, well, let's start with the quarter. Sorry, did I cut?
Yeah, go from right from the beginning.
Okay, so I had Kellen Monde as my player. He's going to be drafted in probably around 4 or 5, I would say. I love his experience at Texas A&M. Played 4 years in the SEC there. He's got really good pocket presence. He is a little bit of a project, though. His throwing ability is a little raw, but he's mobile. He's really mobile. Again, I'm not expecting him to come in and start for the Minnesota Vikings right away, but this team needs a backup quarterback desperately. I can't watch Sean Mannion ever take a snap again. I'm sick of it. But he just needs to go to the coaching staff at this point because he shouldn't be suiting up on game days. Because if Kirk goes down, we're screwed. But a guy like Kellen Monde, you put him in a system with Minnesota for a couple of years, working with our quarterbacks coach and Clint Kubiak. I like it a lot. He's a project, but again, he has all the tools. He didn't win as much in college as you would like, but again, his team wasn't – Texas A&M they were on and off. But if you put him in a really good system, I think he could succeed a lot, especially as a backup, and just to learn a little bit from Kirk for the first 2 or 3 years of his career, see where it goes. I think it's a low-risk, high-reward type of pick for the Minnesota Vikings in the 4th or 5th round.
Absolutely. I like the extra level of play that comes with a selection like that, right? Like he's not necessarily your Kyle Shanahan type pocket passer, right? Like he's going to move around in the pocket and make a play, maybe not necessarily to the degree of a Russell Wilson or anything like that, but he is a guy that is going to have that extra, ability to his game. He's dynamic. Man, that would be so cool. Could you imagine Kellen Monde in like 3 years throwing a freaking dot to JJ on the sideline after like escaping freaking 3 sacks or whatever? I love that. I love that pick. So you see him going at some point in the 4th or 5th round. I think we have 2 third-rounders and 3 fourth-rounders, if I remember correctly. So is this one of those picks where it's like high enough on your draft board that you wouldn't mind seeing us spend that later 3rd to make sure that we get him? or you think that he's definitely going to be there on the board for one of those four?
That's a tough call because I feel like Davis Mills is above him on the board just a little bit. He's a quarterback or two up. And if he's gone at that point, then you might have to take a shot in the lower third. But I think he'll be there. I'm truly confident. I mean, if it doesn't play out like Jalen Hurts last year, should have been in the third or fourth round in the second, I'd be kind of annoyed. So
if Kellen Monde is drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, you're all in on him as a project, right? Like,
yes,
you keep Kirk Cousins on for maybe another 2 years max, and then that's your franchise guy, in your opinion?
Well, no, he's a project. So, I mean, it would have to see how he looks in camp for the next 2 or 3 years. I wouldn't just throw him out there right away. Because I don't feel like he's a franchise quarterback yet. But I mean, if he learns in a NFL system, I think he can be a good NFL quarterback.
Solid. Yeah, I mean, the last big Texas A&M name that I can think of was, I think, Johnny Manziel, if I'm remembering correctly. So somebody that at the time, a lot of Vikings fans had, us getting Johnny Manziel at some point or attempting to get Johnny Manziel. So,
yeah, the problem with him was he just went to the wrong team.
right. Absolutely. Well, I definitely like that. For my first guy here on the list, so out of the 5 guys that I have, the fifth most that I want them to draft, I want the Vikings, since they have been in talks about moving up in the first round. I want the Vikings to move up and select Trey Lance out of North Dakota State.
Okay.
Now, I don't feel like there's a ton that I have to explain here. It's basically the same idea as your Kellen Monde situation, except this guy, theoretically, for another team, a team that's probably going to get him, could end up stepping in and playing from the beginning. So could you imagine Trey Lance sitting and learning behind Kirk Cousins until his contract expires and getting that knowledge and experience that maybe he didn't have a chance to get in college since he played, such few snaps? I mean, talk about a guy who is dynamic. If you could take the best part of Kirk Cousins' passing game and put it with a guy like a Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson, that's the type of athlete that you're potentially looking at in a situation like this. So in that regard, I think this is a move where if you're Zim, if you're Rick, you have to feel confident in where you're going to be with this organization, probably at least 2 years from now. But, man, could you imagine the hometown kid coming to play in purple and gold and bringing something to this offense? I mean, you don't have to worry necessarily as much about offensive linemen right from the get-go if you get a really dynamic guy like this, a guy who can run around and make things happen.
Yeah, totally.
All righty, man. Who's your next guy that you got for us?
Well, sticking with Minnesota, actually, I'm going to go to the cornerback position. I'm going to go to Benjamin St. Just. Minnesota Golden Gophers, baby. Come on, man. I see him going in round 3 or 4, actually. He's a 6'3" corner, which is extremely tall for a cornerback, but his length and physicality is something I love. He really reminds me of Cam Dantzler a lot. I mean, he's going to be a project a little bit, but I would love to see him work with Mike Zimmer and this defense, man. I feel like he fits the scheme so well with the Minnesota Vikings. Even it's crazy. He's a little developmental, like I said, but I mean that just fits right into the Vikings scheme and system. I mean, Cam Dantzler was a project as well. So again, I would love him to stay in Minnesota. I feel like it's a great fit. He's going to go in round 3 or 4. It could be late 3rd, depends on how the cornerbacks board falls. But again, I feel like it'd be an awesome pickup for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the corner guru in Zim. Could you imagine a guy like this? Oh man, because he's lengthy, right? Like he's
6'3".
He's got a lot to work with. So, you could even kind of make him into a hybrid maybe per se, just based off his play type. From what I've seen, being a Gopher fan, he's a fantastic player, and I would absolutely love to see him in purple and gold. Wow, I like that one. I can't believe I didn't think of that since I'm from the freaking school. That's hilarious. All right. The fourth highest guy on my board is Deo O'Dayanbo out of Vanderbilt. He is a defensive end or edge rusher, and he's projected at the moment to go somewhere in the third, maybe late second round. I do think that the defensive line, specifically the ends of the defensive line, are something that the Vikings have to address, right? We have to get a really good rotation going, and getting a young, solid guy that's not as much of a project from the get-go, somebody who you can throw in maybe at least on like a first down every once in a while, is going to be huge for this team. So I totally agree with that. However, that being said, if I haven't made this clear enough in my previous mock drafts, I do not want to hear any talk about edge rushers being selected by the Vikings in the first round unless we trade back to like the 20s. Okay. Just needed to get that out of the way. But this kid, he's really solid. He's got a lot of versatility. His numbers that he put up in college aren't amazing, but I mean, his physical skill set is insane. I think he just needs to add a little bit more weight, really. But yeah, he did a lot of really good stuff on tape for Vanderbilt. He uses his hands a ton. He can go inside and outside. This is definitely one of those type of players that a guy like Coach Patterson is going to look at and be like, I want to get my hands on him. I want to get him in my training room. I want to put mass on him and turn him into a potential another Danielle Hunter or something like that. I mean, could you imagine having caliber players like that on both ends of the defensive line?
Crazy.
Good luck opposing quarterbacks, man. Good luck.
All right.
No, I'm done. Yeah, go for it. Next one.
Okay. I mean, this pick for me could have been swapped with my last one. I think my last pick is more likely than this one. Whatever. These two are swapped. It could have been whatever. All right, you get the point. I'm gonna go with Nico Collins from Michigan Wolverines, wide receiver.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I see him going in round 4 as well. We have 4 fourth-round picks, so this is realistic here. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. I mean, the dude is a freaking monster.
Solid, very solid.
He's already at Michigan. He was already a huge red zone target. His catching is unbelievable. Yeah,
that's the kind of wide receiver we need. It's just a solid red zone guy.
The only thing is his quickness is kind of a concern, but at the end of the day, I feel like you can put him on the outside and you can throw a guy like JJ or Adam in the slot when you're running 3 receiver sets, and I think it'd be perfect because those guys run into the slot absolutely perfect. We know both of them can do it. Collins on the outside, him developing, I think he can develop. I mean, we're getting the new wide receivers coach that a lot of wide receivers have a lot of praise for. So
yeah,
Again, I would love to see it because we're losing Kyle Rudolph, and he's a huge red zone target. This guy's 6'4" on the outside. He could be a guy at the Vikings throwing in there as well, especially early in his career. So, again,
absolutely,
he's physically played in the Big Ten. I would love this pickup for the Vikings in the 4th round, considering they have 4 picks.
Well, and so I think you hit on it. What I was going to get at is these Big Ten, just kind of in general, Midwestern ball players at the running back and wide receiver position. They're not always necessarily the highest ones to go. You get a lot of them out of like the SEC, but they are physical a lot of the time because you're going to naturally have bigger players playing in those conferences. Just based on the way that they play football. And the other thing that I like about that is he comes from a system, too, that's renowned for having a lot of really good downhill blocking. So his run blocking ability is probably also pretty dang good if I had to guess. I haven't seen any tape on him, so I'm just kind of putting this out there. But for an offense like us that runs through a Dalvin Cook, having a guy that you can – having an offense in general where a defense looks at them and they're like, oh shoot, they could throw the ball or run it from freaking 15 yards in the red zone. Dude, love that. Absolutely love that idea. That's you've hooked me. That's a name I want to see called on freaking well, I guess if it was 4th round, that'd be what?
Day 3.
Saturday. So
yeah.
Awesome. Alrighty, man. My next pick is gonna be Elijah Vera-Tucker, the tackle / guard
I like
out
what I'm
of
hearing.
USC. He is the 3rd most player on my list that I want to see drafted, which I know might shock a lot of people. To be completely honest with you, there are guys that are higher on my list that I didn't include. I should say that just because I think that it's very likely that they're going to be gone. I threw Trey Lance in there just because I know that the Vikings have talked about moving up with other teams. So it's at least, a possibility. Obviously, a guy like Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, those type of offensive linemen, I think that goes without being said at this point. So now we're kind of getting more into the nitty gritty of, well, if they stay at 14, who is an offensive lineman that's going to be available for them at 14 and actually makes sense? Elijah Vera-Tucker is that guy.
Yep.
He played really, really well at tackle this last year. Now, he doesn't have the length necessarily to do as well in the NFL, which is why a lot of people have him moving to the guard position. And he has a super high floor there as well. He played over 900 snaps at left guard in 2019.
Yep.
But he played all of his snaps at left tackle in 2020. So super versatile guy, which is something that the Vikings love a lot. We've done a lot of in-depth kind of looks at this guy, but if you aren't hooked already, I want you to just hear these numbers really quick. Overall, PFF, he was graded the 13th best left guard in 2019 and the 6th best left tackle in 2020. Production like that at different positions on the offensive line does not come easily, okay? This dude is a monster. I absolutely love him. His most likely comparison is TJ Lang in the NFL. Okay. I would love a TJ Lang.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So, run blocking is a little bit worse than his pass blocking, but whatever, man.
Yeah, that we already have good run blockers.
Right,
we already have good run blockers.
We have fantastic run blockers. We have a running back that makes people miss at the line of scrimmage and could probably run freaking 95 yards without, 3 missed blocks or whatever. So pass blocking is what I care about, and that's where he excels. And I can tell you right now that this is a pick that would make Kirk Cousins extremely happy as well. So
I also saw an interesting stat on him from PFF that I think he gave up 7 sacks in his career and all his whole
Yeah. My numbers say 5.
Oh, okay. It might have been. I don't know. It was low though.
It's super low. Either way, super low, and a total of 3 hits according to my numbers. Quarterback hits.
Yep.
That just means like any sort of touching after the ball has even left the hands of the quarterback. So obviously a stout guy when it comes to pass protection.
Yep. All right. Well, my next guy is actually a pick that I could definitely see, but I don't want him at 14. I think he's an amazingly good player. I'm going to go Jalen Phillips.
Okay.
Well, he played at Miami, but he was at UCLA. I feel like he is the best edge rusher in this class due to his athleticism and his freak of nature.
Highest ceiling, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I look in players, the ceiling. That's why I feel like Justin Fields should be going number 3. But, whatever. I feel like he has a better ceiling than Mac Jones. But his repertoire is unbelievable, too. He's also very good in the run game. The only concern I have on him is obviously the injuries. We've talked about it, especially in the last podcast with the concussions.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I feel like it is a risk, but the Vikings can't take him at 14 because I feel like he's going to be there at 18. If the Vikings want to take him, move back. And there's no offensive lineman there. Move back.
Exactly.
Take this guy because he is a freak, man. He is an absolute freak. I would love this pick for the Vikings. Yeah.
Well, right. I think this is a guy where, and I said it earlier when I was talking about Deo. If you move back into like the 19-20 spot right there, with a team that's looking for a quarterback, trying to move up, number one, you probably are getting back into the second round with a trade like that, which is what I love. And I'll be getting into a player here soon that I love and see getting picked in the first round or second round. Sorry. But Jalen Phillips, obviously going out for the draft, obviously teams are still high enough on him that with the physicals and information that's come out as far as his health, he's looking good, he's feeling good, or else he wouldn't be as high on people's draft boards as he is. So he's still extremely valuable. I loved his pro day. That was one of the most fun pro days I've watched during this entire process. His measurables are insane, but the value isn't there for me until you get into the 20s. So I totally agree with you as far as trading back. I think that's the biggest thing to do there. And why not? If you're going to get a guy like his caliber and address a fairly large hole on the defensive line. My second highest rated guy as far as players that the Vikings need to try and draft this year is Davis Mills, quarterback out of Stanford. You brought this up earlier, Tyler, with your number 5 pick and Kellen Monde. Davis is he's a little bit higher on my board. I've actually seen a lot of people put Monde higher on their boards, but for my board, Davis is in front of Kellen for sure. I love what this kid can do with the ball. Let me just tell you his throwing grades here, okay? Passing grade overall, 80.7. Out of Stanford, mind you. Intermediate grade, 81.7. Okay? Here's where it comes in. Deep grade, 97.0.
Dang.
The kid can throw the ball, and he can throw it accurately. He's going to be lower on people's boards just kind of because of his accuracy and because he had a lot of pretty solid protection when he was playing in college. So it's going to be a hard sell for some teams, especially a team maybe like the Vikings, at least as for a starting quarterback. But a guy like Davis Mills, oh my God, Tyler, could you imagine Davis Mills be in a Vikings team where we have another 2 years to build the offensive line even more, get 1 or 2 more skill players. For sure, a guy that can come in and replace Adam once he's, not able to play every single snap. I think for sure Adam is going to be a guy that'll stay a red zone target for at least another 4 years. But can you imagine some shiny new toys on this offense? 2 years behind Kirk Cousins, who is one of the best passers in the league with a clean pocket, and Davis Mills learning from all that. I don't care what people are saying about him not having nearly as high of an end to his game as some of the other quarterbacks in this draft. And yes, he's not as good as the top 5 quarterbacks, obviously, or else he'd be in the top 5. But that's an all-pro player in that situation. Davis Mills becomes an all-pro player in that situation. I know that a lot of people are rolling their eyes saying that a ton of quarterbacks would become an all-pro player in that situation. But the point is, you can get Davis Mills potentially as late as the 4th, even 5th round if the really quarterback-hungry teams have already addressed their quarterback situation early. And especially if a guy like Kellen Monde and Kyle Trask are going off the board before Davis Mills, this should be an easy pickup for the Minnesota Vikings. I want Davis Mills as my backup quarterback more than I want Sean Mannion. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, I think anybody would. It's time the Vikings take a project at quarterback or just somebody that can actually play the backup quarterback position instead of a coach. It's time. It's time, Zim and Rick. I hope you're listening to this, by the way.
But it's time. It's totally time.
It really is time. But my number one player, if the board falls perfectly, we got to go with the offensive line. I'm going to go with Christian Darrisaw here because I don't see Rashawn Slater being there at 14. With our current situation, Christian Darrisaw is the perfect pick at 14 for the Minnesota Vikings. He's got size. His frame is unbelievable. He didn't allow one sack last year in the ACC. His 2020 season really rose his stock this year, and I think it would continue for sure in the NFL. He's a starting left tackle in this league, I feel. The only concern I have is he didn't face much competition in the ACC last year, and there's going to be a lot of speed rushers in the NFC, I mean, in the NFL in general, that might take this guy for a ride a little bit. But again, he's a starting left tackle. I think his ceiling is better than a lot of guys. His comp is probably Dwayne Brown, which is a very solid tackle in the NFL. He's getting old right now, but he's a very solid tackle. Again, I think he's going to come in. He would come in right in the way and start for this Minnesota Vikings team because we have an absolute ginormous hole at left tackle, but I think he's going to get better with more games he plays. And I feel like that's most of the NFL offensive linemen, college guys going into the NFL right away. But he has the size, he has the frame, he's good in the run game. He's got pretty much everything that you need. It's just only him not being able to stop some of the elite speed rushers in the NFL. But I think that will get better as he plays more games in the league for sure.
I really like that breakdown. I'm still not the biggest Darrisaw fan. I can't tell you why, to be completely honest with you. Like I can't explain it. It's not really a thing of the numbers because the numbers say that he should be really, really great. I've seen some of his tape and it looks sloppier to me than a guy like Rashawn Slater does, or even a guy like Tevin Jenkins, quite honestly, does.
I just didn't. Times. I was gonna name Slater. It's just this was my realistic pick at 14.
Yeah, and I absolutely understand that 100%. So in that regard, like 100%, I get it. And I wouldn't like throw my remote at the TV if we got him at 14. The bottom line is you need to go offensive line at that pick if you stay at 14, right? So hopefully you can trade back even and still go offensive line if the value is correct. But yeah, it would take some getting used to, but I could get behind it. I think that you're slowly chipping away at me. That's for sure, T.
Okay.
I'm chipping away.
Just have to see, man.
Yeah, right. The number one priority, in my opinion, for the Minnesota Vikings this draft season should be a man by the name of Dylan Redungs, tackle out of North Dakota State. He's projected to go potentially late first round.
Yep.
As late as mid to kind of low second round, which I don't see happening. I think he'll go probably early second round if I had to guess. This kid's a fantastic prospect. The only reason he dropped is because he opted out after a game this last season. That's the only reason. Yeah. He's fantastic. He's by far, maybe not by far the best left tackle because you have Penei Sewell, but he's potentially the best left tackle in this draft. He has that high of a ceiling. He's played all of his snaps aside from like one or two miscellaneous snaps at center last year and this year. All of his snaps at left tackle. He has fantastic run and pass blocking grades. His run block grade is 81.4. Pass blocking grade overall is 89.3. Dude.
Yeah.
Give Kirk Cousins an 89.3 blindside blocker.
Yeah.
We're going to the goddamn Super Bowl. Pardon my French, but dude. Like, I can't even right now, man. This needs to be their top priority, in my opinion. I have done a million mock drafts, it seems like, in my free time. And almost every single one of them, I find myself either trading up to then trade back and get more draft capital and an earlier second round pick, or just trading back in general with the right team and getting a, fairly good second round pick, and always aiming for Dylan Redunds here out of North Dakota State. I love this kid. Whoever gets him is going to get a bona fide left tackle, in my opinion. If not, then I will gladly eat my words. But I feel like this is as sure a bet as you possibly can make going into the draft. So I want that team to be the Minnesota Vikings. I really do.
Yeah. But for me, I feel like best case scenario would be like Vikings trade back, get that second round pick back, take AVT at either like 18 or 19, maybe snag this guy in the second round, and your offensive line I feel like is solved at that point, because you're getting Vera Tucker, I would say, starting at guard next year, and I feel like Redund slides right over to left tackle. I feel like the offensive line might be fixed at that point.
Dude, really and then like a Brady Christensen or something like that with one of your 3 4th-round picks to have, a guy that pushes Bradbury at center. Oh my God, dude. I would cry. I would cry tears of joy if that was how this draft turned out. But I guess the last question that I have for you here is, in a situation where Minnesota stays at 14.
Yep.
What is the one player? And I know I'm shocking you with this question that you didn't prepare for it, but that's kind of why I didn't prepare you for it. What is the one player that you don't want to see drafted at number 14 by the Minnesota Vikings?
Oh my gosh. Mac Jones, if he's there.
Mac Jones. Really? Why Mac Jones?
Why Mac Jones? Well, let's see. I think he would get killed under our offensive line. He is on the ground at least 10 times a game. He played in an Alabama system that arguably pretty much the best all-around team ever. Like wide receivers, offensive line was phenomenal. I think he's getting beat up if he's playing quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. I don't feel like his ceiling's even that high, in my opinion. I feel like Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence all easily have higher ceilings than this kid. I feel like he could be at the best be maybe a solid starter in the NFL, but that's if he gets put in the right system and has a ton of talent around him. Here in Minnesota, I just don't see it. I want a mobile guy in our system. I don't want a guy that can't run and does not have athleticism, and I just don't see it. I feel like he's less athletic than Kirk Cousins, in my opinion.
Wow. So, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I just don't want Mac Jones at 14. That would, if that happened, I'm literally done. I'm done. I'm done.
That would be very, very sad if the Minnesota Vikings took Mac Jones at 14. I don't think he's going to fall that far. I mean, what? I guess.
No, I don't. He's probably going to go off. He might go off 3 actually at this point.
Well, right. So since we're on the topic real quick, what are your thoughts on the number 3 controversy coming right now out of San Francisco, as far as them being between NDSU's Trey Lance and Alabama's Mac Jones? Apparently, Justin Fields is out of the picture. How are you feeling about the disrespect, the absolute disrespect, mind you, that is being handed to Justin Fields right now? How does that make you feel at the moment?
You have to take Trey Lance with that pick. I mean, he didn't play at the level of competition, but I feel like he's a lot more talented and has a lot higher of a ceiling than Mac Jones. I mean, he just hasn't proved it yet. You give him a coach like Kyle Shanahan, let him develop, even for this year, because Kyle Shanahan's a genius. So it just, I don't get what's so special about Mac Jones. I really don't.
I have to agree with you there. I think if those are the 2 guys that you're down to, then it's a no-brainer. You have to go with Trey Lance. Why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you take a worse version of Jimmy Garoppolo at this stage in his career with Mac Jones? The only way Mac Jones is going to do well, in my opinion, is if he gets in a system that has a really fantastic O-line, as you already said, or even better for him, a system where he can maybe sit for a year and develop behind a quarterback like Fitzmagic maybe in Washington.
Yeah.
Hint, Washington, trade up with Minnesota.
I low-key see that as a fit. My gosh, now that you brought that up.
Just saying. My guy personally, the selection that would make me not only turn the TV off, but potentially burn some of this Vikings gear that I own at 14 would be Gregory Rousseau out of Miami.
Oh gosh, no, I did not think of him.
Player.
Oh my no.
This was a name that was tied with Minnesota very early on in the process. Luckily, I haven't seen it tied as much recently, but I swear to God, man, if this happens, first of all, he's not even the best Miami defensive lineman available. Jalen Phillips takes that by far. Second of all, he has barely played. Like, yeah, sure, he's a physical specimen and all that stuff, and he has potential, but oh God, I would be so angry if they spent the 14th overall pick on a guy that technically they should be getting probably in like the 3rd round.
Yep.
If the draft wasn't what it was, that's maybe he might even go later in a draft like last year or the year before that. So yeah, that would peeve me a lot, especially since if Gregory Rousseau is the guy you're going after at 14, then there's probably some pretty solid offensive linemen on the board, because that means 1 or 2 edge rushers have been taken before your pick, which I currently don't have any other team taking an edge rusher potentially until the Vikings at 14. And again, they should not do that. They need to trade back if they're going to take an edge rusher in the 1st round. If that is their plan, you need to trade back, Minnesota. But enough ranting about the same dang thing every 5 minutes. Well, that's all that we have, I think, for today. So that is going to wrap up our draft coverage of the 2021 NFL draft. Leading up to it, that is. Obviously, once the draft is over, we'll be back with our reactions to the Vikings picks, other picks around the league that have probably shocked us, our takes on, the holes that have been filled, where the Vikings should be going after this draft. So stay tuned for stuff like that. If you haven't already, make sure you check out all of our previous episodes on the draft. They are all archived at www.vikeswithmike.com. That's Mike spelled M-I-K-E. I'm telling you guys, like, it's great coverage, and we appreciate your support in every way, shape, or form. Man, dude, I'm so stoked for Thursday.
I know.
I'm so excited.
Can it be here already? I've been literally just like,
right?
Is it Thursday yet? Is it Thursday, man?
Oh my God, exactly. I keep waking up and I check my freaking watch or my phone and I'm like, oh, it's only Tuesday. Oh, it's only Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Well, yeah, we will be back soon with coverage on the NFL draft. Until then, we hope that the Vikings do what they do best, and that's have great drafts under Rick Spielman. So, hey, putting the good vibes out there right now, Tyler. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But,
I like it.
Yeah, hopefully we're reacting to another video like the Justin Jefferson one, right? Where they're laughing because Philadelphia took Jalen Reagor. Man, I'll be losing my mind. Alrighty, buddy. Well, that does it for us. So again, support us in any way, shape, or form you can. Make sure you check out the other podcast episodes, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. Skol.